Hello, everyone, and welcome to SUGTalks. I'm Craig Dale, your host, and together with our special guests, we'll take a deep dive into the topics, challenges, and opportunities facing SAP users today. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode. I'm delighted to be joined today by Chris Gorton, Senior Vice President and Managing Director of EMEA at Syniti. And in today's episode, we'll be discussing some of the findings from Syniti's recent research looking at data challenges currently facing SAP user organisations in the UK and Ireland. So welcome, Chris.
Thanks, Craig. Good to be here.
And before we get into that subject of data and how people should really be overcoming the challenges, I just thought I'd ask you, if you could watch one television channel for the rest of your life, what would you choose?
Now, that is a really difficult one because TV has just changed so much. I'm guessing like Netflix doesn't count as a TV channel. I'm quite a fan of Discovery, the Discovery Channel. So I've always been a little bit more fact than fiction. And it's always a go-to channel when you're surfing through looking at what might be out there to watch, and there is always something on Discovery I find that can keep the interest alive and keep the brain ticking. So, but that's a tough icebreaker. That is definitely well thought out.
I must admit, I kind of struggled with this one myself, to be honest, because immediately I was thinking sport, but then I was thinking, "Ooh, you know what? God, I'd really miss my Death in Paradise fix and breakfast TV for the 5 minutes on a morning and before I leave for the office, so to speak." So I think I'd probably have to go with BBC One. But anyway, I like your Discovery piece, and nowadays I think it's Discovery Plus, isn't it? That I'm able to watch the Test cricket whilst we're over in India. So that's an interesting part of the Discovery family. So thanks for that, Chris. And
thank you.
just to start things off, could you just give us a bit of background, please, on yourself and Syniti, and then briefly explain why data migration and management is such a hot topic at the moment?
Sure. So I was just trying to figure this out just before. I've been in the data management space pretty much since I was 16.
Wow.
I started an apprenticeship as a mainframe operator, and at the heart of that business, it was a direct mailing business. It was all about processing customer name and address data on a mainframe, and with the idea of streamlining and marketing to customers. Now, I still talk about that topic today, so I would say that was pretty revolutionary because we are going back some 27 years there. So in essence, I've always been in the data space. But then I stayed for 10 years in my first company, but then I found myself very much moving into the data quality governance space through a partnership that saw me working at Business Objects and then through to SAP through the acquisition. And it was then I realized that even in the SAP ecosystem, data was still not a topic that SAP themselves were grabbing hold of and really pushing with their customers. So myself and a few other of my colleagues set up a business called Intota, which we subsequently went and sold, or we were acquired by Syniti back in 2014. And they would say the rest is history. So I'd say the majority of my time from Business Objects to joining Syniti was in the consulting space, some really interesting projects in the public sector and across various of the private industries. And then during my time in Syniti, I've led pre-sales, I've had sales roles. I took a brief break post-COVID, and then I came back and privileged to be able to be heading up the region for Syniti and EMEA. Syniti are a pure play data transformation and data management company. It's all we do. And that makes us special because we have a deep level of expertise that I don't think it can be matched in the marketplace. But I also like to think we've got nowhere to hide. There are lots of consultancies out there and technology providers that have a broad portfolio of services that they can provide. We just have data management technology and data transformation expertise. And as part of that, we have a very strong, close relationship with SAP. They resell our technology. And first and foremost, we've used that platform to allow SAP to start owning the data conversation with their customers. And that's really important because when you ask the question about the importance of what Syniti do in and around data for the SAP customer base, it's exactly that. We are coming back into I would call it a hyper growth phase around transformation that we haven't seen probably for the last 5 years. So about 5 years ago, just as S4HANA was coming in, but the SAP ECC 6 platform was still the primary platform, customers were doing big transformations. And at the heart of those big transformations were data transformation and migration. And 80% of Syniti's business is data migration related. And then during the whole phase of S4 launching and maturing, what we've seen is the market become quite confused. Data migration has taken on many forms and colors. You've got the green fields, the brown fields, the blue fields, the selective data transitions. But at the heart, and what Syniti have stayed true to is data quality that supports business value realization and unlocks the business benefits and the reasons for doing the transformation is still the number one priority and the number one outcome that customers desire. That, in a nutshell, is who I am, what Syniti do, and why I'm at Syniti, and I guess the catalyst in why we believe data is so important right now in the marketplace.
Thanks for that, Chris. Yeah, that's brilliant. And when I look at it as well, I've had many conversations on previous podcasts, especially when we're talking about business transformation, digital transformation, the move to S4, etc. Time and time again, we come back to that data underpins everything. We need to start with the data. We need to get the data right. We need to make sure that what we take into the new system is what we need to be in there. And if I look at the kind of the research in more detail, I suppose one of the surprising results was perhaps that despite 4/5 of SAP organizations saying their use of data analytics increased in the past 12 months, only 12% said they had a comprehensive data strategy. So what do you think are the reasons for this?
I think too often data goes into the too hard pile. And when you start talking about, especially data governance, data strategy, when you come at it from that angle, I think it's seen as academic. It's like, how do we get a return from a strategy? And being able to look that far ahead is very difficult for all businesses today and executives that have to make those investment decisions. So what we found very much is you need to bring a strategy to life through immediate quick wins that can then inform and help organizations be more confident in what their overall strategy will and can be. And I always say data migration is a unique event in any business, because you can have MDM solutions, you can have any types of quality initiatives and strategies, but done right, data migration gives the opportunity to transform data in a scale and a volume that you just can't simply achieve when it's in the system itself. So when I see so many customers lifting and shifting to S4, doing upgrades, so true brownfield conversions, only to be disappointed with the end result, that's the thing that we've really got to focus on. So you can, and again, it's about getting the right advice at the right time from the right people. And all too often, when data is invested in by a customer during a transformation event, and it tends to be the last thing everyone focuses on rather than the first thing. So again, there's a lot of habits and attitudes that have been built up over the last 20 or 30 years in this space that we're trying to buck those trends and change those habits and attitudes. And then you will see that number truly transforming in a more positive way.
Oh, thank you. And you mentioned the data being put in the too hard pile, I think, at the beginning there. And I suppose data can sometimes is probably perhaps being seen as technical in nature, perhaps. And does the ownership of data need to shift perhaps away from IT, if that's where it's at, by being seen as technical, given its importance across the whole organisation?
Absolutely. So part of what we have focused on over the last 12 to 18 months is our data first strategy. And that is making sure A, data is not left to an afterthought. B, IT have the role to deliver first time right data migration outcomes, and we absolutely can help them do that. But if those outcomes, like you say, only technically deliver the data and then the business process won't run, then it has to be the ownership of the business.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's all about having the right time and proof points for the business to be accountable. And I think one of the key things is showing them early wins. So what will the benefit of the future state be? And how do we minimize the disruption to them? Because I'm yet to see an SAP transformation where the business users have spare time to do testing, to prepare data. But the problem is if you squash that into the last 3 to 6 months of a project, you're going to be asking them to do a lot of unnecessary data work and business validation that we could do in a much smarter way.
Thank you. And kind of part of the research revealed that 70% of organisations actually don't think that they have the skills to make effective use of all their data. What skills do organisations need, and why are they in short supply?
I think there's a skills shortage everywhere at the moment, but so where we think we've excelled in this space, and this isn't unique to us. I can tell you that our platform is the only platform to migrate, but there are other ways of doing it. But we seek to have what we call a T-shaped consultant. So they are sometimes very functional. So they may have been functional consultants, business analysts, and then over time they've developed an aptitude to understand and then be able to articulate the importance of data to functional areas, business processes, etc. So that mix then with a tool and a methodology to perform the migration means that a customer can deliver on their own skills and resources. And I think one of the habits and attitudes that we need to change is too many businesses are still wholly reliant on people-based approaches to migration, and those people approaches will typically come from external consultancies, and all of that knowledge and information, once the project is done, is lost.
Mm-hmm.
So and part of building your data strategy is understanding here's all the challenges we had in the data. This is how we overcame them. What better ingredient is there to the strategy? So addressing your previous question, than capturing all those learnings from these different migration events and business transformation. There's one thing: businesses have good years, bad years, etc. But the one constant in all businesses, they are in a constant state of transformation.
Thank you. And I suppose, if you're looking to do this with your own skills, your internal skills, and the learning is there and you don't lose that information, then the value, the long-term value must pay dividends in the end.
Massive. There is a massive return on investment. But it's different. It's different to what we've seen over the last 20, 30 years. And it takes time. People don't like change. I spend all of my time speaking to executives about what an alternative is.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, the first discussion is not always pretty. It's like, oh, are you sure? We've never done it like that before. So yeah, we have a lot of interesting conversations.
I can well imagine.
We know our community, but we don't know yours yet. Why not share the benefits of your UK&I Sub membership with those who don't know about us? The UK&I Sub referral scheme rewards you for helping to grow and develop our community. You can check out the link in the description to find out more about how you can get involved. Terms and conditions apply. We hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
And one of the other elements was that data duplication is another aspect most organisations said they found challenging. So how should organisations go about tackling duplication, and what are the issues if they don't?
It's deduplication is an interesting topic. So I was doing this back in 2002, before AI and ML claimed to be able to do all of this whizzy stuff when it came to matching. And there are multiple steps in really tackling deduplication. And anyone can match data. You can even do fuzzy matching in Excel, SQL, or you can get specialist tools to do it. But rarely that isn't enough. You have to resolve. So if we take SAP as an example, the business partner is a complex model. The ownership of a customer versus a supplier are typically owned by different parts of the business. The ownership of credit limits for customers might come from finance. So it's very segmented. This is where governance and ownership, they all collide. So whilst deduplication seems on the surface to be one of the simpler topics, or it should be the simpler topics, it's the matching of data is easy. It's the decision and the governance and the process around how you harmonize that data after, which is often where customers get most stuck.
Thank you. And I suppose another area on that as well is accuracy and data accuracy. How can organisations improve the accuracy of their data?
Accuracy is probably the most difficult. If you look at the classic data quality dimensions, completeness, conformity, those are more technical in nature. True accuracy is certainly the hardest one to measure, and without being too much of the consultant on the call, it depends. So if you want to know how accurate your addresses are, solutions for that. If you want to understand whether you have the right hierarchy of a customer in your CRM system, you have to go and look at external data sets for that validation. If you want to harmonize your MRO data, again, you probably need to standardize it first, which will then go some way to helping you harmonize and then optimize supply chain and maintenance schedules. So I think accuracy, and there's one final one actually there, and there is the business. Ultimately, the business can define whether data is accurate. So if you can define rules around accuracy and have those reports, you should be able to react to the inaccurate data in a timely fashion. So external data sets, be that for addresses or data standards, and then obviously having the business define their rules and standards of what they deem to be accurate or not, and then implement those in a systematic way is probably goes a long way to achieving that.
Thank you. And you mentioned rules and standards from an organisation perspective there, but there's also regulations, I suppose, that organisations need to make sure they remain compliant with regards to their data management. So how can organisations ensuring they do remain compliant?
So the one that we talk about a lot is the whole data lifecycle management topic. So how long am I holding data? Am I holding the right data? Can I access the right information? So PII data for GDPR as quickly as I need to within my SLAs. Too many organizations are not doing proper data lifecycle management. We've been into organizations where they're holding 20, 30 terabytes of data in a single SAP legacy system. That's inefficient. It's costly as they move forward to S4. And I never forget a CIO, I think it was Xerox, saying, "Chris, for this country, I need to hold finance data for X number of years, but when it's X number of years plus 1 day, I need it gone. Because if it's still there, we are legally responsible for that data and whether it's compliant or not. So I need to absolutely 100% meet the data lifecycle requirements, but I need to make sure that I've got a proper removal, archiving, and or decommissioning and deletion process alongside that to ensure I protect the company." So I still see that as one of the most overlooked areas of data management.
Yeah, thank you. And you mentioned archiving there, and so how important is data archiving?
It's the first step in any move, especially for our SAP customers to S4. Like I say, it can save them money in terms of their future hardware and software costs, but it will also allow them to decommission. So if you look at the average business case or the majority of business cases for an S4 transformation, there will be having to decommission and turn the lights out on the old systems. So by doing the right analysis, you can better prepare. And like I say, it is just good quality housekeeping. We've talked about business relevancy of data when we perform migrations. What is the actual data that you want to take to the new system? Archiving is just dealing with that on a much bigger scale.
And you've touched on, I think, a few challenges during our conversation, Chris. And are you able to list out, I suppose, some specific data challenges for organisations when they are transforming to S4HANA from ECC?
And maybe I'd maybe try and suggest something a different way
Okay.
round. What we're seeing more of is an opening up. So AI is a big topic, and when people come to Syniti, they go, "What AI functionality does Syniti have for data management?" And my response is always, "We have AI in our tool, but an AI feature and function isn't going to help you or your business on your journey of discovery and implementation of AI. The only way you're going to be successful is to solve the data challenges." Someone said to me the other day, so I'm stealing this quote. Um, Artificial intelligence without good quality data will be artificial stupidity, and I love that because it's true. The only way there's this massive buzz where everyone is saying AI is going to transform business, but it cannot succeed without high quality data. So I stress every customer that is moving to S4, they have to remember it's not just to implement a new ERP system, it's to create an important data footprint that will be integral to driving their AI strategy as they move forward. And still, not enough people are focusing on that. So that is one, and we've got to remember that everyone focuses on Gen AI, but there's lots of other types of AI that have been around for many years, especially in the reporting space, and still no one's using that properly. So again, the message on data hasn't changed in the last 10 years. What we need to do is change the attitudes, and people shift left the importance of data. So, how can we do things earlier with more confidence, with greater business outcome? Then I think we will see a true shift in customers' attitudes around the importance of data.
Oh, thank you. And as we come to a close, Chris, just, I mean, on that topic of the future, if you like, how do you think data strategies are going to evolve in the next 5 years?
So we're seeing a growing portfolio of products and services coming into the marketplace that are going to help. So data fabrics, data meshes, etc. I still, again, if I look at what Gartner was saying around data and ERP and what they said, so we got quotes back from sort of 1990 and 2000, and you look at quotes from 2019, they're still saying the same thing. So um, I would say that really good data strategies have I don't think we've even got a great baseline yet. I'm yet to see, and there will be some, but I'm yet to see anything that says that is a comprehensive standard strategy. So I urge, and data has always been that space that's always been 2 or 3 steps ahead of itself. So I urge people not to dive into the latest technologies and the latest trends, and actually seek out examples and expertise of those, that small minority that have done it really well, get the foundations in place, and then all the tech and the other trend stuff that will all come naturally. That will all enhance. But if you start with the whizzy stuff in mind, you will probably find the journey harder and slower.
Thank you very much. Thank you for all of these pearls of wisdom that you've shared with us during our chat. And just before we do kind of come to a close, is there anything else that perhaps we've missed? Anything else you'd like to leave our listeners with?
No, I think I mentioned it a couple of times, but urge everyone to just think with a data first mindset. If think back, if you're embarking on a transformation, or you know you're going to be in the next 6, 12, 18 months, just take a pause and think about what could we do that we haven't done with data much earlier in the process, and give it a go. While Syniti have this data first strategy, and you'll see it everywhere on LinkedIn, I see it as a mission. It's a mission to change the habits and attitudes around data. It just so happens that the marketing department love it, and they're running it and plastering it out everywhere they can. But for me, I've seen it work, and I've seen how much the customers can't let it go once they've got it. So that's probably the one takeaway: data first.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Chris, for your time, for your insights, and thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and found it valuable. Please make sure you do subscribe so you don't miss any of our future episodes. And until the next time, stay safe, stay well, and keep smiling.